Too Sweet Playing. Welcome all you four-color funny book aficionados. This is U.S. Comics Cast HQ for all things comic book related. I am John Rivera, the CEO and co-founder of U.S. Comics, and I am at death's door.
And that must make me the COO of U.S. Comics, the guy who wishes he was at death's door. Happy Comic Book Day, John. I'm sorry you're not feeling well, so this winds up being a 20-minute episode. You're welcome.
Not as sorry as I am. Oh my God. I want people to take note of the gurgle that I have going on in my throat and just know that every little rasp, every little gurgle that you hear, first of all, I realize completely nauseating. So you're welcome all for that. But also, as well as, this is how much my brother and I care. We come to you week after week after week, regardless of what's going on in the real world, with utter nonsense, unimportant, total baloney. But you know what? We serve it up on a plate for you. You're welcome.
The one nice thing about unimportant nonsense is it like seldomly is worse. Like Venom 2 made so much money this weekend.
So much money.
And yet still, I'm positive I would sit down to watch that movie. I'm positive I would hate it. And I'm also positive it would be 1,000% better than the current state of affairs on this rock that's spinning through fucking time and space.
I'm relatively positive. Our show today is going to be just as, if not longer, than that 90-minute opus.
I mean, I will say I'm going to give them credit for, like, no one wants 91 minutes of this bullshit. Like, everyone's going to give us money for, like, oh, we like Tom Hardy sometimes. Like, sometimes he's just wildly entertaining.
Sure.
And that's enough to care. He pulls a Keanu Reeves with the world. In as much as we're like, you've done enough good stuff. Let's roll the fucking dice. Do
you remember when Michael Jordan laced them up and played for the Washington Wizards?
I do.
All right. So even when Michael Jordan was playing with the Wizards, the sheer presence of Michael Jordan, when they took the floor, and they were terrible, when they took the floor every night, they had to be like, we got a shot.
Yeah.
We got a shot. So I'm just picturing like the hardwood covered by symbiotes, and they're like, 90 minutes, but we got Hardy.
We got a chance.
We got a shot.
Then they doubled down, because then they got like a Latrell Sprewell after he did nothing in New York, in as much as Woody Harrelson is another delight. They fixed his wig. I'm sure he was stoked about that. He's gone on record saying his first wig was just imagine how fucking deflating it must be. You're Woody fucking Harrelson, right? You walk in and they're like, this is your like joke wig. And you're like, you fucking ball busters. You guys know I like to have a good time. Woo! And they're like, no, we spent like a lot of money on this horseshit wig for this horseshit teaser.
Does that insult hurt worse for a bald man? I gotta feel like it does. Like, you get your script.
Even
like,
this is better, you bald fuck.
Oh my God.
With that being said, if anyone tuning into this live on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitch, if any of you dumb bastards think that we're going to review Venom 2 like days after it comes, you couldn't drag me to go willingly see fucking Venom 2. I just watched The Many Shades of Newark for fucking free at 12:08 a.m. I would rather poke my fucking eyes out than go to a COVID-infected theater to be like, no, it'd be swell. Let me definitely hate this fucking movie. Every trailer has been like, you hate this.
Because of the way that they treated your favorite hot scientist in the first one. You're like, no, I don't give a shit what they do. You are not going to go ahead and earn my love back.
It is the second worst thing to happen to her since the Dawson wouldn't love her on that fucking creek. Unacceptable. Venom 2, Electric Boogaloo. And from the trailer, it's like she's engaged. Bitch, move slower. Like, no one needs to be engaged that fast. Like, I haven't seen the movie and I'm already like annoyed. And I will see it because I'm a fucking addict. Because if I was going to stop watching shit, I would have stopped watching What If. Not because even it was bad. Because the first episode of What If, I'm on record. I'm like, this is the same shit. Just the British broad is doing
Hateful.
the exact same bullshit.
Hateful
no, thank
rhetoric
you.
coming from this kid.
If I've learned anything from
And he hasn't.
a series like What If, you get rewarded sometimes with like Marvel's logo underneath it. Should just be like, this is going to be perfectly acceptable. Like, if it is a Marvel proper, not this hybrid Sony bullshit, if it is at worst, you leave being like, I saw that movie already. Like, we were just pre-show discussing, like, you're going to get a snarky guy. Like, that shit is going to happen. Sometimes it's a well-endowed, snarky guy who used to be on a terrible show called Two Broke Girls.
Oh.
Sometimes it's a snarky guy who hasn't aged in 30 years, and he's hopefully going to be a key part of the new Ghostbusters and not break my heart. But What If has finally wrapped up. I took a week off of What If. I was just a little bit too busy with my real life. And I was kind of rewarded. I was kind of rewarded for a shit schedule because the last 2 episodes that wrapped it up were kind of like...
You got like a super episode.
They were like, hey,
sized.
Hey, assholes, secretly this whole time, it's been one big story. And it's like, has it? Because they did a lot of... in that last like 80 minutes or whatever the heck it was, it felt longer. They really were like, Cam, remember the zombie episode? Remember the zombie Cap?
Now,
we have toys. You want a toy?
The toys threw me more than almost anything else that What If had. All the concepts, I'm like, yeah, no, totally. I could see that. My direct connection was always like, would this have been, if it wasn't specifically like many of them were, would this have been a self-contained What If comic? Because again, I'm on the record being all in on the comics since I was.
You were Mr.
Me
22 and out.
Bug.
Being said, you were perfectly content without any teasers. You're like, Star-Lord is T'Challa. We're done. Next, please.
I preferred it that way, as a matter of fact. Now, it was interesting because, and this is the reason why the records exist. Charlie, if people recall, Charlie was not about that fact. He's like, well, what if I like it? What if there's more? Charlie won the Rivera Bowl in terms of What If, because whether you liked the concept, whether you disliked the particular concept, you were going to get another bite at that apple. So I don't know, Charlie, if it's worth a spoiler warning, but do we want to, how do we want to do this? Do we want to break down the series episode by episode, or as a general
let's start in general, and based on time left, we'll peel back the layers of the onion. So I'll start off so you can enjoy your sneak energy. For me, like all things Marvel, I'm glad it exists. Sure. Were some episodes better? What a weird world to live in, where I have to do that. I love the series concept. I will say, ironically, despite being the guy who was like do this every year, forever, and periodically bring back the worlds. Like, I didn't need every season to have a Captain Carter. I didn't need every season to have a T'Challa as Star-Lord. I don't need every season that ends Black Panther the right way with my boy Killmonger winning, adding some more
always a dick
to his flesh.
He is always a dick.
I will say one bit of fun they sidestepped was in those last 2 episodes. They throw in like a fresh Gamora They're like, this is a different Gamora. You haven't seen her, but like you get the Gamora shit. She killed Thanos in her universe.
She's green.
She
You
she
get
has
it.
plans, and I understand it served a purpose. But I thought there should have been like, you should have kept like, I almost would have taken a whole fresh crop that was a variant on their episode. So like, give me a Captain Carter that works for Hydra. Like, just like, I was hoping.
Oh, you want the double alternative versions now.
I
Look
thought
at
what
this
would have
kid.
been. I
Charlie's
thought what could have
going
been fun.
all in on the what if concept.
Imagine if you're like, what if Killmonger, took over, fucked up Tony Stark, but also bird wings. Like, if you're gonna go, if
Charlie's
you're gonna
like,
go
hey,
all
Marvel,
out, go all
I
out.
would like to produce the new series, If What, by Charlie Rivera, and just double down on every concept. I could dig it. You know that I'm going to tune in for that.
Well, yeah. What about you? What did you feel about the series as a whole? What did you feel about them kind of bringing in, again, the major spoiler is the last 2 episodes are kind of dedicated to like, oh shit, we got a big bad who by the way, even before the big bad like got more powers, he kind of proved that Vision really like was a bit of a pacifist. Like, the minute a bad guy got Vision's body, he was like, mind stoned, motherfucker. Like, the willingness to fuck up a threat, I understand, but like, oh shit. So this series taught us Vision and Captain Marvel, like, probably a little OP'd. But I'll kick it back to you. What are your overall thoughts?
You know what? Obviously, again, with any series like this, where episode by episode they're wildly different, up until, of course, the final 2. You're gonna have your favorites, and everyone who listens and watches knows that's my policy. I don't believe, oh, this was a good episode, that was a bad episode. That's subjective. I had favorites, I had non-favorites, but all that put aside, because it did end up all mattering ultimately, which is my bigger point. That was not the point of What If. So Marvel kind of out marveled itself, because Marvel is built on this concept of like everything is going to matter ultimately. And even with the multiverse, with what's going on Loki and what's going to be happening in Spider-Man and Doctor Strange, how they're double and triple downing, if that's a term. Everything matters, everything counts, and obviously we know that across town DC is doing that as well. I thought this was the one zone where that was not going to be the case. That would be as if the announcement that came out of the Star Wars world was that a particular episode of Visions were like, you know what, now that's going to leak over into live action, or that's going to be an extended live action series, or whatever the case might be. It wasn't even so much that I even liked that or disliked it. It just caught me unawares. I'm like, that was not, it was like a second day of Christmas. You're like, what? There's still presents out, there's still eggnog, holy shit. So it just really kind of caught me caught me from behind when I wasn't looking, like Uncle Gertrude.
You know what's kind of amazing, coming out of our comment section over on Facebook, our boy Jim saying, I remember all the shows and movies Marvel made before Raimi's Spider-Man. Good ones could be counted on one hand. So if they make some bad ones now, sure, I'm okay with that. And I think that's the fun of getting to explore something like a what if universe. And now that we've kind of gone this far, meaning like they've been like, fucking Watcher, he's watching. As far
and he
as
could throw. Woo!
Also, like, way to by the way, Star Wars, that's how you take someone you're not expecting to fight and have them be able to fight. Like, not the Yoda bouncing around like an asshole. The way you do it is Homeboy was like, hold my cape. Let me throw on my costume quick. I will
pull a hammy. I've been standing around for like millennia.
I will say this though, I hope down the pike we're gonna get an evil Doctor Strange. Like, some people after the not far from home. dying to go home. What the fuck's the new Spider-Man called?
Far From Home. Yeah.
Is it Far From Home?
Mhm.
In Far From Home, someone said like, that's not our Doctor Strange. That's the What If Doctor Strange. And I was like, that's fucking stupid. Now, opposite. Now I'm like, that would be fucking great. Like he
Well,
just randomly has a tentacle. Like
I
fucking sign me up.
I threw out my Chris Evans pitch many
Fuck
months
yeah.
ago, mostly to have it on record because if it ends up showing up, I'm like, oh, call the
Yeah.
lawyers. Jacoby and Myers, boy, do I have something for you. It's yeah, there was just a lot going on in the What If series. Now again, I thought I never have Charlie too far from my mind because one of the things that Charlie said was, and we addressed it before. Well, if I like it, then you know I'm never gonna see it again, so to speak, which kind of breaks your little tender heart. But I had read on the internet, which we all know if it's on the internet, it must be true. But I had read on the internet that because of the COVID situation, that um, a lot of these episodes were to be further developed. Now, Charlie and I had an off-screen conversation regarding the Wakandan episode, for lack of a better term. I know the episode has a specific name, but
Where it
I
was like
felt
very bad anime.
I felt like it wasn't finished. You know, there were certain aspects, and not by comparison to what I had in my mind it should look like, but by comparison to the episodes around it. And clearly, the COVID situation had an effect to the point where I think some of these episodes had more meat on the bone. They left shit on the cutting room floor. So when we do get ultimately the next season, and you know we're going to, there might be continuing episodes, just like you were talking about. We might indeed get a lineup of another you know, Captain. I keep on wanting to call her Captain Britain, which clearly she's not. But Captain Carter episode, we might get another Star Lord, T'Challa, and the continuation of those stories, which is they stepped back into. Spoiler alert: they stepped right back damn into it. There was only one substitution at the register that we got, which was kind of interesting considering the real life stuff that was going on with that particular character. But the short and long of it is, I walked into this series loving the What If comics, and I will say that the What If show was not, for many reasons, it is not the What If comics. But that's a common thing to say. But I will say officially, I dug the What If series. I really liked it.
Yeah, I hope this sets the groundwork, and it's seldomly the case, especially with the House of the Mouse. I hope this sets the stage to go like weirder. I hope they really like let it just like off the top of my head. I would love to see. I would love to see if and the name eludes me, but from Red, White, and Black, the African American who got the super soldier serum and then like broke his boys out and then was like locked in jail.
Yeah.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier obviously had the character on the show. Like, give me like don't be afraid to give me some uplifting shit. Like, give me the one where he's then Captain America. So when white Captain America shows back up, he's like, "Hey man, you got the mantle. I'm just gonna live my fucking life." Like, I would love to see like. Again, you talk about stories that do a little bit of medicine with your entertainment. You cannot fucking tell me, or at least, and this is probably wrong. There's probably 1,000 people that would say history has proven me wrong. But that character, if allowed to have that mantle, if you're trying to do an uplifting story, fucking suddenly America, it would be fucking hard pressed to find someone who was that racist. You have a fucking like the first superhero, you know, forever before the Avengers, fucking wrecking shop. Have him punch like Thanos shows up and he's like, "I fucking fought bigger bullies than you purple bitch." There are stories you can tell.
Kind of racist, Charlie. I don't want to say, like, you got to throw on that purple terminology. Grimace is gonna be like, "Hey, motherfucker, you got some explaining to do."
Or I love, again, coming out of Facebook, Red Guardian and his Captain America story is probably true. We know fucking somewhere in the multiverse it is. Or where's the universe? And again, I wouldn't want too many of similar stories, but for season 3, what about fucking Red Guardian just being like, yeah, Russia's the shit. Look at this guy
Well,
saving the day.
that was one of the things that they came out of the Widow standalone movie. Okay, we clearly have a new Black Widow on the block. Not a
Fuck
problem,
yes.
little blondie, way to go. But also, as well as you're instantly clamoring for more, Red Guardian stories, and give me the prequel, and give me, like, there was a lot you can do there. But let me throw this one to you, Charlie, because I know time is a factor here. On the breakdown, point blank, what was your favorite What If episode of this first season?
That's a great question, and I love
Thank
the
you.
fact that it's difficult to answer. I'm a big fan of happy endings. I'm a big fan of happy stories. Also true. Um, Sorry to all of my masseuses. I had the wrong idea every time. For me, it
Charlie
was
Craft Rivera.
it was T'Challa as Star-Lord. And the one thing I would say that was a bummer about that particular episode, spoiler warning in full effect, was that it kind of was like fucking the old Star-Lord, like, go fuck yourself. The end of the series
No
montage.
choice but to compare them. That's the only issue
Well,
of the What If. What if this person got these powers that to have belonged to fill in the blank? You have no choice but to be like,
but I'm not sure if you noticed it during the end credit montage of the very
fucking
last episode.
montage.
T'Challa Star-Lord had rescued our old Star-Lord, and
Absolutely.
homeboy was flying with him. So like the idea of
He was shooting pistols with him like he was in the basement shooting BB guns in his face.
Again, it doesn't take a big stretch to say in that part of the
I gotta put it up
multiverse.
there.
In
I
that
apologize to our sponsors in advance, but this type of stuff, you can't walk away from this material.
I mean, again, Paul brings up a good point off of YouTube. Who isn't a fan of happy endings? I assume he means the TV show. Just kidding. He definitely means the part where you come. For me, it was the option of, and it would be very, very sad, because obviously we all miss him. Comic book fans, the worldwide, truly did mourn the loss of who will always the man who will always be the kind of voice and aesthetic now of my T'Challa. When Chadwick passed away, so did the opportunity to get him to do more voice work. But the character can kind of be immortal, especially animated. It's a lot easier to accept that they're honoring him, right? Imagine you do a Star-Lord T'Challa and his fucking new sidekick, because nothing's to say that in that universe. I always felt like T'Challa was a little older than Star-Lord anyway. I don't care what the actors are. I'm just saying personalities and stuff. So you could really play up the fact that if this is a 22-year-old Star-Lord and a 28-year-old T'Challa, fuck yeah, man. Star-Lord and Star-Lord Jr. I would watch the shit
Peter
out of
Quill,
30
you
minutes
mean
of that.
Peter
I
Quill
mean,
and
Peter
T'Challa
Quill, yeah.
together?
His name
Well,
eluded me.
let me ask you this. So that being said, what was your least favorite episode?
Captain Carter. Captain Carter, just
The
because
very first one.
it changed so little that and don't get me wrong, I think I absolutely adore the actress. I love
Haley Atwell.
yeah, but even in the series finale, they once again recreated just the Captain America scene, but Cap had boobies. Like it was the same, like the no parachute thing, like everything minus like a slight twist on the relationship between Captain Carter and Widow. But even that is a copy and paste. Less copy and paste, more change.
In all fairness, Widow, and again, not slut shaming here, because this is amongst my favorite people. Widow has that type of relationship seemingly with everybody, and one might
Totally.
argue in that era of espionage, that indeed is a weapon as mighty as anything that you have on your hip or you're packing on your shoulder.
I don't disagree. We're just
we
talking.
is woke up in here.
I think my lack of love for the Captain Carter episode is a testament to how interesting the concepts were and the execution was on the other episodes.
All right, I'll just go real
and
quick.
I don't think
because,
it was
again,
bad though.
I do know that time again. We're up against it.
Indeed.
I would say, truth be told, for the reason, for a shockingly similar reason why you disliked that first episode, the Captain Carter standalone episode. Um, I would say that of all the episodes, my favorite was the Guardians of the Multiverse, the very final fucking episode where surprise. I give myself too much credit in most things. I'm very well aware. But this was one of those things where either because of my preconceived notions or just because I consistently play that game, if you sat through Westworld with me, I apologize. Even more so if you sat through Game of Thrones with me, I owe you money atop of favors. I can't help but try to like extrapolate clues and put my sleuthing cap on, like, oh, I bet it's gonna go here, I bet it's gonna go there. Now I am not a douche like exists on the internet, where if they don't do what I thought they were gonna do, then I cross my arms and stamp my feet. I'm like, no, I hated it. I didn't like that. Why? Because they didn't do what your dumb self thought they would. No, that's not what I'm saying. But I think my favorite one was that final episode where they combined all of the jambalaya ingredients and said, well, you thought these were standalone. They even managed to drop the damn zombies on a brother. And the zombies were one of the most direct adaptations from the What If comics. I mean, obviously, it went on and on. So that was my favorite. However, Party Thor, least favorite. Least favorite. You're muted, Charlie. It was least favorite, and it was not even a close
Yeah.
second
See,
to my least favorite.
for me, that was a close contender. I didn't love it.
I detested, actually, and I'll go one step further. I detested how they treated my boy Thor in the entirety of the damn thing. Because
Well,
when we got to the tail end, and obviously, again, that's the version of Thor that's been established, but I'm like, oh, this motherfucker again, you got to be kidding me. So for several reasons, which I won't bore people with, but Party Thor, Vegas Thor, Vegas, shut up. We get it, dumb. He was Spartaning that joke all over town. It wasn't funny the first time. It is not funny the 27th time, Thor.
Yeah,
Dumb.
tell Hemsworth, because he too
I'm gonna.
he thinks he's hilarious, and he is way closer to Party Thor
I will.
than he is Ragnarok
I'm gonna
Thor.
show up on that Hulk Hogan set. I'm like, boo, Party Thor sucks, and so does Hulk Hogan. Is he walking this way? Time to go, Charlie. Light him up.
I hope to God Taika Waititi does a punch up on anything Hemsworth has to say, because also fuck that Hulk movie, racist piece of wrestling shit. With that being said, my dear brother, your topic is first. Tell me when you are ready for me to start your time.
I will tell you what I'm ready for, and I am ready to create for you a what if scenario.
Oh.
What if a certain line, some a bitch, didn't have the access to one of the sincerely greatest cinematic minds in the world, and the creation of my homeboy Indiana Jones didn't happen? Because look, we know that George Lucas would not have been able to create the beauty of Star Wars and Han Solo, and especially Indiana Jones, on his own, for many reasons. But one of the most important ones is that he is a liar. So before we do anything else, Charlie, Han shot first. Salute.
Clink. I was hoping you wouldn't have alcohol if you're not feeling well.
Oh, yeah, no, I am just that stupid. So you're welcome, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I don't think anyone would have hated you. But I digress. Tell me when you're ready for me to start your time.
I disagree. I do hate myself. So that is at least one person.
Clearly
Charlie,
not true.
Go ahead and start my motherfucking time before I get carted off into the ICU.
And go.
Woo! All right. So here we are. We're talking about we're talking about the what if world, and so much happened. What if this is a point we didn't get to, but you know what? I'll do a little crossover, kill a crossover. Uh, One of the things that we didn't talk about was the small details of these what if episodes, and they had relatively short run times. We know now that it was largely because with COVID. We could have gotten longer episodes if the situation was different. What if we didn't have COVID? Um, However, this is going to be eminently one of those rewatchable series because of those little details. I mean, I shitted on the Party Thor episode, but the Party Thor episode, I will say, was a gold mine of little fucking Easter eggs. Man, you have to be the damn Peter Cottontail not to pick up as many fucking Easter eggs as were lying around in that episode. But the entire series is laden with Easter eggs and little talking points. Charlie, did you happen to catch one such talking point, which is actually going to be the kernel of my conversation right now? When Vision Ultron was rumble in the jungling with the Watcher, when they were just spoiler alert, when they were tumbling through realities, just breaking them like the proverbial Easter eggs on Sunday morning. Did you happen to catch one of the particular worlds that they smashed through? The little certain landscape, a certain lava filled area with a particular Sith-ish castle in the background. Charlie, do you know of which I speak?
Not only do I know of which you speak, on rewatch, there are 3 that have been identified so far.
Unbelievable. So when
Lava
again,
bullshit.
this is
I don't know the
heavy.
names of any of them.
I got you covered. This is heavy spoiler alert, and this is not me conjecturing. This is not me pontificating, which is rare. And certainly this is not me just trying to kill time. I'm not sitting up here like my name was Patton Modoc Oswald, and I'm just filibustering a very important meeting here in Pawnee, where it's Parks and Rec versus my Star Wars Marvel crossover concept. That's not what's going on, all right? Because Patton Oswalt did it first, ladies and gentlemen. However, the most recent What If episode, well, pair of episodes, did it officially. Star Wars is now canon with Marvel. They are kissing cousins. You
genius.
knew it was going to happen. So what I'm talking about,
because
anybody who's not
it's a
caught
long
up,
time ago.
it's Charlie. It's not even the fact that it's a long damn time ago, because their timeline they could have gone through. It's like it's like when the Flintstones and the Jetsons crossed over. Yeah, they were obviously in different times, but the same universe who was smashing up together, just rubbing uglies.
It just occurred to me that a long time ago,
yes,
like could have literally been like the 30 years that take place between
hell yeah
the original saga.
Yeah,
and
a long time ago.
Like
that
Poe
could have
might
been
be like accidentally fly into like Tony. Tony's frozen ass was spinning through space.
It's very true. So again, just for anybody who's not caught up with the fucking
That's the
nonsense,
trilogy. If we're fucking up Star Wars, all in. Next fucking Guardians of the Galaxy. I hope the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, Vader's the character that James Gunn has been teasing. He's just like, what up? I got asthma.
So specifically what we're talking about, when these two the heavyweights are throwing down, they're smashing through reality after reality, far better than Loki could have done it. They go smashing into what is clearly Mustafar. And it's not just Mustafar whenever, because there are plenty of lava planets out there. But but you can clearly make out Vader's castle in the distance. So Star Wars and Marvel officially has nothing to do with the mouse's checkbook and the fact that they belong to the same entity, but they are officially part of the same world and all of
Awesome.
the possibilities that damn opens up.
It's fucking awesome. It's the it's an easy joke to talk shit about like corporate synergy, because the minute you see like Marty McFly being like,
Not a word.
I'll take a Pepsi, like and again they were able to make it a nice joke. But let's be honest, Pepsi probably threw him a couple bucks. If for nothing else, the Pepsi Perfect. Like that seems like fucking branding. Um there is some shit that's just like we're now living in a what if world.
Well,
Like if
here's
I was Disney, I'd be like, "Can I borrow Superman? Like give me a
here
10-year movie
here's
contract."
the main thing, and truly, this as I was watching it, it immediately took me out of the moment, which I'm sure was not the intent. I almost I was the live action. I was the live action pointing at the screen, like I was Leo pointing at the screen meme. I'm like, oh, because Patton Oswald, he got so much right. First and first, mostly, he began his diatribe filibuster by bringing back Boba Fett. I'm sorry. Didn't we get Boba Fett back? Yes, we did. He crossed over their universes. A matter of fact, this was before his time in the Modok fucking outfit. He brought it to us, and the best thing about it was in preparation for this. Yes, shocking. There is some preparation for this nonsense. I went back and I listened to the entirety of his filibuster. It was done in one take. Only about 10% of it ended up making it to that particular episode of Parks and Rec. But he goes on and on. Everything from a decapitated Chewbacca, all mechanized, fighting against fucking Cyclops. And Charlie was gonna love it because like Daredevil was one of the first fucking names dropped. And Pat Oswald did it first. I hope he is collecting a honestly, I hope that just that fact that happened, we're like, God, we got to pay so many people. You know what? How about this? What if we let you play a Marvel character? And he's like, yeah, fuck yes, yeah, deal, sign up the dotted line. And the second they got his John Hancock, they're like, oh, you're MODOK. Motherfucker.
Well, he was also on Agents of Shield. He played like a fucking replicant Shield agent. I didn't watch the show.
I was also on Agents of Shield. That is not any kind of payoff, dude.
And it was more than your crotch, like in Amazing Spider-Man. I love side bullshit. Like there were, with Ghostbusters, every now and then someone does a fan film and they're like Ghostbusters versus Freddy Krueger, and I just throw my pants aside. Because I'm like, fuck yes. Fuck yes. So the idea of this bullshit that we've been doing on YouTube for 20 years, when it's the company itself being like, yeah, Back to the Future, he's a Justice League member now. I'm like, yes! Doc Brown should be fucking making the new Batsuit. Like, fucking sign me up, Dick.
The stuff writes itself. And the comic books have always been pretty good about that. I mean, DC and Marvel, who should be like oil and water, cats and dogs, fill in the blank. The fact that they allowed their universes to cross over on multiple occasions. I mean, I hope the UN is taking notes, because if or like this is basically it's like a live action live action a live version, an IRL version of the end of Rocky 4, which obviously I cannot wait for the director's cut of. But if I can change and you can change, we all can change.
I mean, again, people, and this is not the topic, but just as a drop in, people sometimes like decry the idea of if DC went under, Marvel picking them up. Be like, shut the fuck up. Like, don't do that thing where you're like, well, I want put And
Don't do it.
this analogy
Relax.
hurts me, but put the peanut butter in the chocolate. Put the chocolate in the peanut butter. Like it
And get it
can't.
away from Charlie.
Like what bad could come from Boba Fett with an Infinity Stone? Like I just want to see it. Gimme. You remember when Jay and Silent Bob were like supposed to be in Scream, or like
Sure.
were in Scream or some shit? Like, yeah, that's how you get me to watch Scream, you dumb pieces of shit. Jay Muse was supposed to be in the fucking first of the 19 fucking shitty Predator movies. That movie would have been so much better if it was just like Snooch to the Booch. I'd have been like, fuck yeah. And as our off of YouTube, this means E.T. is part of Marvel. Fuck yes. Get that glowing finger to fuck up Thanos. I don't give a fuck.
I gotta believe that there were copious ET comics floating around back in the day. But one of the best thing is that when you are a fan of two properties, like you're sitting there, it's like shipping two characters on a show, right?
Yeah.
Like certain shows begin, you're like, I'm supposed to root for these two. All right, you got me. I'm not a heartless piece of shit. But if you already love both properties, when they tell you it's on one plate now, you're like, well, then I will order two helpings of that shit because, upcoming we damn have Sandman crossing over with Lock and Key, which is like,
yes.
Forget about peanut butter and chocolate. This is like John and the Swedish Bikini Team. These are two things that belong together. And at this point, how could they not have been at this juncture? But that's a problem we can easily solve. Get at me, girls. I'm just saying. It's Jetsons and the Flintstones. I mean, these are things that make sense. It's Marvel and Star Wars, of course.
Yeah, or like, and that's one of those properties that like, yeah, every idea is good. Like every Star Wars plus. So I constantly talk about how DC, the DC cinematic universe should stop fucking trying to be a cinematic universe, and everything should be a pocket dimension. Like everyone should be doing with the Joker and the Batman. The only difference is like also give me some shit where I can see all the colors. But conversely, or more accurately, also as well as just start fucking doing weird shit. Like as much as I hated Space Jam 2, and again, hated is me pretending.
They made a Space Jam 2?
I felt nothing for Space Jam 2. And the podcast version is like fucking Space Jam 2. But the reason it annoyed me is because, like, yeah, do a 20-minute cartoon of Bugs Bunny and the Matrix. That shit might be funny. Or I can totally fucking dismiss it. Like, there is something about...
Take a shot.
And again, you never know what dope shit's going to come out of it. IDW used to be the king of it in comic book form. As much as Marvel versus DC, whatever, bro. The fact that there was like Ghostbusters Turtles, DC and IDW worked together to do Power Rangers and the Justice League.
There it is. Unbelievable. 44 and 35 seconds. The Power Rangers were able to weasel their way into the conversation every damn week.
And they followed Jay and Bob this week. So that's
Charlie, how many fucking throwdowns has poor RoboCop had to be subjected to? They threw RoboCop at every damn body. It was like the celebrity boxing matches, the claymation ones, before all of a sudden fucking YouTube celebrities took over. It unfucking believable. And I spoke here on another episode about my Deathmate love.
Yes.
Fucking Deathmate crossover was one of those that like even with the books in your hand, it was hard to fathom the thing being real. You're like, this is fan fiction, right? Like, at some point somebody's gonna wake me up. September ended. Come get me and Green Day, because I realize we're dreaming. We're sitting there holding each other in our striped ties, and we're just dreaming. But no, it was true. It really damn happened.
Now, you know what's funny is I think a lot of people are desperate to dislike things, obviously,
Yeah. Yeah,
because they're
sure.
garbage people from
Yeah,
garbage
just
places. Um,
unhappy.
so one thing I read after kind of this discussion started today, one thing I read was like, oh, like this this will suck because, and for that, and again, we're not going to
Yuck.
argue the like
Ugh.
what a bad take, but
Ugh.
even when something is indisputably bad, it's still kind of good, and I have proof. Image Comics. I loved Image growing up. Giant
Sure. Still
Pouches,
do.
little Charlie didn't know how bad some of those books were. Giant Pouches, giant boobs, giant thighs. I was all in, and that was on the guys.
Tiny feet.
Best tits in the business, every fella on every cover. With that being
He
said,
must work out.
Grifter has been in the DC universe for
Yeah.
like 70 years now. There hasn't been one good story. They haven't used him well once. They haven't done that character justice once. With that being said, every time I see a DC comic and Grifter and that dope bandana mask
He's
are
got a
on the
great
cover,
look, man.
I go, here's $3. I'll be taking this home with me because I live in optimism. You're telling me Thanos with a lightsaber you don't want to see? Get kick rocks. You're a fucking liar. So I'm going to ask you a question, even though it's your
Please do.
topic.
Sure.
What is the one thing you really visually? What's the one thing you would love to see? Is it X-wings landing on a shield helicarrier? Is it
Oh,
someone teeing off? Is it fucking Cap throws his shield that some bitch gets cut in half by a confused Luke Skywalker? Is there a visual when someone throws out the possibility of Marvel and Star Wars collab? I guarantee you didn't in the past imagine it would be them kind of crashing through the multiverse, which is our first
no,
real sign.
that was exactly how I saw it happening.
But what visual? I found this great one online. There was no artist listed, but it's half Boba Fett face. I'm sorry, it's half Mando face, half Iron Man face. There's an X-wing. There's the Infinity Stones. I was like, this visual is goddamn amazing, and
Yeah.
it's truly beautiful. I just Googled Marvel Star Wars and it came up.
Well, you know, it's a multifaceted answer because, and you had referenced it earlier, the fact that the Star Wars cinematic world that we have, it spanned out over a fairly long period of time. And granted, I realize, of course, we go from like World War II to modern days, but there are giant leaps in time in the Marvel cinematic world. Like we take a little stop, we go from like World War II to the 80s, and they're like, oh, we're here now. But one of the best things, actually, this was a video game. One of the first Battlefield, Star Wars Battlefield games that came out was like real slow and low. You know, low, the
Low
fucking
poly.
graphics stunk on ice. But one of the best things about it was you could see on one screen different eras of the Star Wars mythos at the same damn time. So even more than any particular character, as opposed to standing across the screen from another character, one group standing across the way from a different group, like seeing the stormtroopers line up against the fucking, like the X-Men. Or I mean, there's it's unlimited, that amount of answers. Honestly, the the fact that Marvel has unlocked the toy box of not just the multiverse, but also the timelines means that not only can you take the entirety of the Star Wars catalog and throw it up against the entirety of what Marvel has to offer, you've unlocked the entire timeline of Star Wars stories, especially now, even that we're getting ongoing and future years worth of stories. I mean, they're gonna take it back to the fucking Knights of the Old Republic at this point. So you have opened up.
Yeah. Give me that.
When you say a world has opened up, you have opened up multiple worlds. You're talking about generations of story that you can throw out on the table and start picking sides for the inevitable war to come. So that's the most exciting thing for me.
Now, this is a slight sidestep, but I think it's an important moment of the show. Friend of the show, collaborator of the book, Ellis, the man, the myth, the legend, one of the biggest Star Wars fans I've ever met, has multiple amazing Star Wars uniforms, recreations, hand-created Lando costume, unreal how good it looks. Running around Comic-Con with a Colt 45, looking good as hell.
Ain't that right, Chewbacca?
Via our YouTube comment section, where we are live every Wednesday, he goes, but Marvel has time travel, and time travel will ruin Star Wars. We all know, I've discussed this before.
It's a fair point.
Point. Is it though? Because wait for this. As a new generation Star Wars fan, which I consider myself, because I really only fell in love with Mandalorian. And
Charlie is a born-again Star Wars fan.
I guess Ellis skipped the Lego Christmas special, in which time travel was introduced into Star Wars. So time travel was already there. It was already there. So, dare I say, Ellis, 1 point Charlie, 4,000 points Ellis in the Star Wars knowledge off.
But he's coming back.
But yeah, you need, hey man,
Charlie has all the momentum. You know what? I thought you were gonna go with the old standby. The Kessel Run with the questionable amount of time / distance traveled. But when you're talking about space travel, all kinds of light speed, one might argue you've been fucking up time in the Star Wars universe since the first jump. Choo. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. What can I?
That was good.
You got it. Thank you.
I'm just saying,
keep it real sometimes. So
Ellis is working on Ellis is working on an amazing fan film. I feel like that may have been your audition, because that was pretty goddamn solid.
Thank you.
I think anytime you open up more opportunity, more options, I truly, as the host of this show, that truly always wants more, because I will pretend shit doesn't exist, left, right, and sideways. It's a skill I learned from a cruel world.
You're
for
very
me, it's
welcome.
just more is better. Ellis, however, threw out another fact: if Lego Star Wars is canon, then Batman kind of exists. The Lego movie, I feel like is a different thing, but
we've already established that, and fucking Batman exists everywhere. It defies logic.
It's Batman and Deadpool
plot.
everywhere.
And the simple answer, I hope this shows up on somebody's final. I hope it shows up on their written test at the DMV. I hope it comes up when they're sitting in court and they're testifying in front of a jury of their peers. The answer is always going to be, I'm Batman. I'm Batman is all you fucking need to justify any damn thing that they throw your way. And truth be told, you just can't fight against it, man.
Sir, do you know how fast you were going? I'm Batman. Oh, proceed. Thank you for not having the weird fire jet.
Thank you for your service.
I'm surprised your mascara didn't run. John,
but though, Charlie, just real last point, and I know that you're winding up huge to get us out of this, so I do apologize for that. But the bottom line is, my final thought regarding this is, if nothing else, if this is just, and I think in all reality, it probably is absolutely the case. If there's just a tiny bit of fan service, this is the kind of fan service that I want. I don't want you changing the fucking ending of a movie because there were some grumbles on Twitter. The 17 people who were loudest end up fucking changing something, or changing how goddamn fucking what's his face Sonic looks, or shut up, just do what you're gonna do. The
That was
bottom
a
line is that
service.
this, well, I wouldn't know, I didn't see the crappy movie, but that all being said, this is in all likelihood 99.99% just a tiny little bit of fan service. However, it lays the groundwork that if someone like Charlie comes along, is like, hey, I got a good fucking idea. We already have purple lightsabers, right? Hey, you see where I'm going with this? So that's entirely fine with me in this Division's world. Right now, clearly Star Wars can go wherever the damn hell it wants. But I was just tickled to see it happen officially. Could not be happier. Again, probably not going to work out to be anything more than just this little tidbit, but sometimes, and if you're on a first date with me, you'll probably hear this line again. Sometimes a tidbit is all it takes, baby.
Awful.
Take it away, Charlie.
I will say this before paying our bills. Recently, there's been a theory floated around on the internet that in the classic movie The Rock, that our main old character, who has in the past played a Latin man, was in fact James Bond. James Bond, like, retired, wound up in jail, wound up helping our boy in the film The Rock. So I'm going to float this out. Mace Windu had a son. That son was picked up by some identity stealing aliens that turned out to be good in the cinematic universe, dropped off on Earth, wound up meeting Carol Danvers, losing an eye, and went back to space to learn more about his heritage. I think that's why Nick, good old Nick from the Marvel Universe, is in space. He's trying to find his long-lost family. That's my new theory. That's how it all ties in. Confirmed for the next Avengers movie. Next Avengers movie, he's like, what's up? I inherited this lightsaber. Wow. This episode!
Charlie insisted on pulling it out. Let me tell you something. If fucking Mace Windu shows up in any place but somebody's fondest memories, then I'm going to say, you know what? Somehow, on some world in the Star Wars universe, there are sharks, and these motherfuckers just pulled the Fonzie and jumped over it. Don't bring Mace back. I'm sorry. We all love him, but don't bring Mace back. Come on.
I'm just going to say, because of that, he will not award you the title of Jedi Master. You can have an apprentice, but you are not a Jedi Master.
What else is new?
This episode, as all of our favorite episodes, is brought to you by none other than Bad Mary, one of the absolute hottest bands working. Live shows have started up again. You can get all that information on all of their social media, and you should follow it all at Bad Mary Band. You can go to the website, badmary.com. You can get yourself some swag. But my favorite part about my beloved Bad Mary is any music streaming service you have, and you definitely have one, their full discography is on there. Bad Mary, they're awesome. If you want to just throw money their way, patreon.com/Bad Mary Band. Give them money. Give them your money. They deserve it.
And you know, if you have any left over, give it to me. It's fine. Our other sponsor, right here on Facebook Gaming, also as well as Twitch, aka the Purple Site. You can find him there. Multiple streams every day. Outstanding gaming content. He's playing the new shit so that you don't have to. He's throwing supported games. He's got co-streams going on, giveaways, contests. Don't be a sucker. Check him out today. Throw him a like, a follow, a share. Throw him some shekels. Consider becoming a supporter if you please. But if you need to pick me up, do like I've been doing in all of my sickness. This is all that's kept me going. Follow the White Rabbit over to sneakenergy.com. Use code SGT at checkout. I need a hit right now. So good. However, also as well as if you're doing a little throwing up, sitting on the potty, and your stuff gets wrinkled, you need some new, fresh gear. Go over to geeksunleash.com. Use code SARGE there. It's code SGT at sneakenergy.com, but it's code SARGE at geeksunleash.com. When the Sarge is on deck, you salute. He's over on the purple site right now, dadgummit.
Just
Charlie,
twitching it up.
twitching it up, twitchy motherfucker. Um, I think I have at least a solid 25 to 35 minutes of life left in me before I
Perfect.
need to go on a full regiment of miracle drugs. So Charlie,
Start my time, baby. I'm good to go.
boop, started your time.
Boom, boom, boom. Boom, 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 boom. We're going. We're going to lawyer up for this final segment. I'm about to learn you something. So I'm going to go left of center, as I always like to start everything I do. You're welcome, Jess. The fact of the matter is, no matter what the quality of a Superman film has been in the Snyder era, there is one moment that always gets a standing ovation for my lovely brother and I. And that's at the end of the credits, sometimes at the beginning of the credits. In the comic books, there's a beautiful thing that pops up, and it says, Superman was created by John. Hit him with the hotness. Who were the
Siegel
creators?
and Schuster, my two teenage Jewish brothers from another mother.
And
Oi!
Siegel and Schuster. This isn't a small font. It's there to remind the world that the greatest superhero of all time had two creators that put together a character so goddamn iconic that no bad movie will keep him down long. He might not always be ranked number one, but you wait long enough, you give it a couple months, you give it a couple years, he always sneaks his way back up to that number one seed.
The cream always rises, baby.
Another top 5 superhero that sometimes holds that number one spot. Over the years, his little card used to sit alone, and it used to read, created by Bob Kane, Batman. When we sit down to see the Batman, we're going to see an even better card pop up. And that card's going to read, Batman was created by Bob Kane and Bill Finger, the man who took it from a red-clad, jetpack-wearing J-Brone and created Robin, created the Joker, created the Batmobile, busted out Alfred. This is...
He took him out of those purple gloves.
Fuck
Batman,
yeah.
what are you doing? Do you not get GQ in Gotham City, man?
The fact of the matter is, for some people, these cards obviously mean very little. But for people like us, for people in the know, for people who have ever tried their fucking hand at creating anything, especially those of us stuck day in and day out doing something they fucking hate, on the brink of emotional collapse because they realize they've never fucking brought anything into this world that'll outlive them. These title cards, when I see them in TV and film and on comic books, it means the fucking world to me. And above Bob Kane, Bill Finger, above Siegel, above Schuster, above these beautiful, wonderful creators, there was one man who sat on top of the nerd throne as one of the greatest creators of all time, and that was the man himself, Stan Lee. And one time, Stan Lee turned to us in a moment of need because he couldn't pay medical bills, he couldn't pay Bill's bills, and people like Kevin Smith, who sit at the altar of this creator, and I sit at the altar of that fucking creator, turned to us and said, if you have a couple shekels, throw them the way of Stan the Man Lee, and I did so fucking happily. I don't have a wallet busting at the fucking seams, but Stan needed something. I got him something. And here's the fucking truth. He can have all the cameos in all the movies you want. Stan Lee is still not appropriately credited for the things he helped create. And I say he helped create, no, without shame. Siegel and Schuster was my first example. Sometimes you need a fucking creative team, right? You and I, for the most part, are a creative team. We've had creations we've brought individually. We've had creations we put together side by side. We've had characters that started as one, transformed into a Bill Finger scenario. I couldn't make something work. I throw it your way for solutions. And such is the case right now because of the law. So for those of you who don't care as much about this stuff or weren't fully in the loop, Marvel is countersuing former creators' estates, specifically the estate of Steve Ditko, one of the
A
absolute
genius, Steve Ditko.
one of
Genius.
Spider-Man, Doctor Strange. Between the 1960 and 1990, this motherfucker created some of the absolute greatest characters that have now popped up on the silver screen, but have been in 4-color funny books since the 40s. So I'll do the boring part first.
I think more than that, but yeah, I see what you're saying.
So the Copyright Act of 1976 is what these estates and the family of the creator of Thor, Black Widow, Hawkeye, everyone in Marvel you love, their rights are about to come into question because of this copyright law that says if you create something and it's given to someone else after 70 years or whatever, or 40 or 60, you can get that shit back. You can go like, oh, you've had my toy.
Yeah.
Give me. So they're going, much like Siegel and Schuster before them, they're going after their piece of the pie. And again, I don't mean to bum anybody out. Stan Lee did not die wealthy, right? That's important to know. These creators have passed and their families are trying to make sure their legacy is in place. So much so that when news came that Marvel was countersuing, in essence saying like, well, they were work for hire. That's always the argument. The argument is if you create something, if you get hired to create the Pepsi logo, do you own the Pepsi logo? And of course not. However, there is legal precedent that after X amount of time, you create it, you can be like, yo, give me that back. But really what it is, and Steve Ditko's family has been very open about their feelings, the internet was very quick to react. The internet immediately went out and be like, they're trying to take our movies away. No, they're not. They're trying to get their piece
of compensation.
The billion-dollar empire. But for me, because I don't have a monetary, and don't get me wrong, I mentioned it before and I'll mention it in a moment, I do think these families are entitled to what these amazing creators would have left them. But more importantly, I do not know, without looking it up, the creator of Thor. I don't know the creator of Black Widow. I don't know the creator of Hawkeye. And that is a fucking sin.
It's a crime.
It is a sin. And I understand people's the understanding of work for hire. Like, I'm not saying on every bottle of Pepsi right now, they need to have the artist's name. But if you do a Pepsi poster, we talked about it a month or so ago. If you're using someone's art, I understand you have the right to use it. That was the contract. A contract is a contract. But much like the Black Widow lawsuit that just wrapped up, if there's legal precedent for a conversation, have the fucking conversation. So before we dive in,
real quick,
I was going to kick
just
it
real quick, because it got a little bit off the rails there. But one of the things that is really important to keep in mind is that there is precedent, and it's not just that there's precedent; it's that there's precedent in-house. Marvel themselves have been down this fucking path before, and when the story first popped, actually, cousin Paul, who I know we're popping in and out off the screen, he actually brought it up to me like literally when it happened, like breaking news, and we had a quick little side conversation about it. Marvel has fucking been down this path. Well, obviously you mentioned the late great Stan Lee, which everybody is familiar with him now because of his cameos. But Charlie, a cameo is not the same as being immortalized. Like you mentioned prior, every single time these cats have a fucking release, a movie release with their character's title card pops up, it should always have that created by a writer to it. There's no question about it. That's just it's not a question of like, well, legally, blah, blah. Like, where's your humanity? Are you not a fucking person? Do you not share this planet with us? But just recently, and what you're gonna hear this term being bandied about a lot when these if these details come out, because obviously we didn't hear any of the details of the fucking what's the face Black Widow settlement, and there was indeed a settlement.
Rumor
But
is
you're gonna
40 million, by the way.
Good for her, man. Good for her.
Absolutely.
And good for my homeboy from SNL, because you don't have to tell jokes now if you don't want to. But you're
I would
gonna
have
hear
quit
the term.
immediately.
You're gonna hear the term, the Marvel method. The Marvel method, which is in their definition, and this is not hate being thrown at Marvel, because obviously I'm a fucking huge mark. That money that they're suing you for, that came a lot from me, motherfucker. Anyways, it's a loose, collaborative working atmosphere where they come over to the artist and say, look, this is what's being kicked around, blah blah blah, and then that artist goes and polishes up the idea. Charlie, I want you to imagine a fucking scenario where you came to me in the absolute infancy of US comics and said, "Hey, I have this idea. She's like our version of a flame fire user, but she's got tattoos and she's got a certain personality, and I visually I kind of imagine it." And I said, "Oh, okay, Charlie, that's an interesting idea." And then I busted out the pad and I started working out like the particular tattoos, and this is what's in vogue at the time, and blah blah blah, and working on a backstory. And then all of a sudden you're flipping through your morning fucking social media and you see, oh, introducing from US Comics. Yeah, wait a minute. Isn't that fucking effigy? Isn't that the Wasn't that the shit that I fucking laid out? How would you feel? You're not gonna tell me you're gonna pull an effigy on the damn entire building and burn that son of a bitch to the ground? The fact that that literally generations of Ditkos, and you can run down the fucking gamut, the full list of these people who have been fucked over and their families. Never mind the fucking money, the legacy. This didn't just pop out of a fucking automatic bin in the side of the wall as a prefabricated fucking entity. These things were created, they were birthed. You cannot fucking look at them as having been gifts from God. They weren't. They came from people's hard work, from their pens, from their efforts, from their brains.
And
Give me a break.
the big problem with, because there's a lot of people who, again, I totally get why some people are just looking at it from the most selfish way, which is
Sure.
like, well, I want to be able to see Spider-Man on the
Right.
silver
Don't
screen.
take it away from me.
Don't take it away. With that being said, you're allowed to be selfish and be like, well, I hope those people get fucked, but you have to acknowledge that they'd be getting fucked. Because here's the problem.
Yeah, call it what it is. Exactly.
Marvel is always very quick to be like, well, we turned Spider-Man into a gajillion-dollar thing. And that is true. However, what that insinuates to me, and again, if you have a different opinion, please share it, that they're saying that they could have done that with anyone. But they fucking didn't.
How insulting, man.
You know what I mean? Like, it is the easiest example. The easiest example is Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon made The Rock my left nut. Dwayne Johnson made the nut. Could he have become the highest grossing anything ever without wrestling? Probably not. But if it goes both ways. If Vince said, like, that's all mine, baby, dickhead. If Rock went, that's all me, baby, dickhead. Which is why in the example of Dwayne Johnson, he still uses Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson to throw Vince and WWE money. Do you remember those Dwayne Johnson movies that didn't say the fucking Rock? That was when he was like, go fuck yourself, Vince. Because Vince probably wanted too much. And they settled it. And what's interesting about that specifically, the recent exodus rather, of WWE wrestlers to companies like AEW, Ring of Honor, New Japan was partially because WWE was saying everything you do is now ours, so you can't have a Twitch channel.
No.
We don't care that your name we don't care that your name's Adam Cole and you don't call yourself Adam Cole on your Twitch channel.
Baby!
That's ours now. So he was like, my contract's up. Peace. That is the world we live in. And again, I'm not saying that Marvel's completely wrong in saying that they made these multi-gajillion dollar companies. But if you made so much fucking money with it, baby, share the wealth. Because when creators are alive, they can get more work if you know Charlie Rivera and John,
the creator of fill in the blank. And now all of a sudden, now they've got, now they have street cred, so to speak, rather than being invisible. But I do got to say this, and I usually leave it to Charlie when the conversation goes over wrestling, because I'm more of an 80s wrestling fan. But one of the best examples of like ownership of your fucking name, it is my name. One of the greatest workarounds, and it just so happens that he's at the fucking the spear tip of the revolution in wrestling. Sorry, Al, it's the truth. AEW is whooping on WWE's ass right now. Fucking Cody Rhodes. When they came to him and said, sorry, kid, you're not going to be able to use the name Cody Rhodes. And he's like, it's not a character, motherfucker. My name, look at my license, look at my birth certificate. My name is Cody Rhodes. And they're like, nah. And he said, you know what? Okay. You don't own my wife's fucking name, Brandy Rhodes. So he began being introduced every damn place he went. And I mean every place, like including fast food restaurants, when he went to go pick up his dry cleaning, when he got his oil changed at fucking Michelin, or whatever the fuck they do that shit. They were like, now introducing Cody and Brandy Rhodes. That was
genius.
The fucking most the most genius move of a guy that for a living rolls around on the mat wearing his underpants, getting dropped on his head, cutting himself to bleed. Fucking Cody Rhodes, God bless your blonde motherfucking ass. That was some smart ass shit.
So
credit where credit's due.
So just a quick add-on, because I think it helps serve my point. His name actually is not Cody Rhodes. But lawyers determined that since his father, Dusty, was so famously known as Dusty Rhodes, he in fact has rights to the Rhodes name.
I got rights, dadgummit.
And as of this beautiful LJN style figure, now he is able to use Cody Rhodes because the law sided with him.
Well,
and again, your story still serves perfectly true.
You know what's funny though is that time is the great salve for any fucking burn. Time ultimately will solve any problem that you're dealing with. I don't care who you are. I don't care what the problem is. I don't care what the circumstances around it. So again, with Marvel countersuing to retain ownership of these, of these copyrights and what have you, so that they can continue to use them as they see fit. Understandable. It's only an issue now because a certain period of time has expired since creation. If you can go out and write the great American classic character, you can, I don't care who the fuck it is. You could have fucking Barry created Peter Pan. Charlie, you can go out and do any fucking damn Peter Pan thing that you want in the world right now, because once something any creative content out there, once it hits that 100-year mark, I don't care what it is, it now enters into the public domain. So you can go out, you want to tell a Hercules story, you want to tell a Peter Pan thing, you want, I mean, the fucking list of public domain, and there's a ton of characters out there. Now, where you do run into some kind of issues are for certain things that have been added for in their particular installment of that thing. So like, to use the Peter Pan example, um the Lost Boys being decked out in a certain way, okay, that's Disney's take. So that is protected. You can't go out and give me a fucking Peter Pan sewing to his shadow who's all decked out in green, and the fucking Lost Boys are all dressed up like they're killing all kinds of animals in the woods and all kinds of stuff like that. No, that you can't do. But do you want to go ahead and do a fucking version of Peter Pan and make it like Hook, and you've got you've got the Lost Boys looking a certain way, and who's not dressed up like a fucking, doing a cannonball down the ships, dressed up like a mailman? Yeah, you can absolutely do that. So this type of litigation, it's not exactly the same as suing for ownership rights as it is to maintaining something that they've created, which I totally get. But the bottom line is this: in this day and age, it's just fucking money.
Yeah.
It just boils down to money. Disney, Marvel, you guys have all the fucking money in the universe. Just pay these guys, man. Pay
And
these guys something and go about your merry business. And the optics are not shitty, because right now it looks shitty.
and the thing is, they had plenty of time to get ahead of this. It's not the fact is, I understand sins of our father may not always, again, that's some shit that can happen. The guys who were in charge of Disney and Marvel were in charge of Disney and Marvel. It simply is what it is. But like anything else, there is a time to change. There's a time to do the right thing, and every day is that opportunity. Disney, in my opinion, fucked up with Scarlett Johansson and the Black Widow movie contract. I think they fucked up. An easy win was there, and now you're already seeing it. All parties are getting along great. There is not a comic book character on Earth. There is not an animated character on Earth that should not be recognized who created them, even if it's just in the credits. Now, in my personal world, do I think Marvel's Shang-Chi looks great on a marquee? Absolutely. I'm not going to fight that. But when you open up that film, I want to know who fucking Shang-Chi was created by. And his creator should get a taste. And I understand something like the Avengers, that's a lot of people taking a taste. So that's why it's a percentage, baby.
Exactly.
You can figure it out. You got mathematicians, sucker.
Or the fact is, you're not talking about something that's like, let me put a sticker price on this, and now you have to come up with a valuation, because like there's a huge difference between fucking Thor,
Mm-hmm.
which obviously, again, Thor is one of those examples. Nobody owns Thor. You can't own fucking Thor. It's the goddamn fucking Viking mythology, Norse mythology. So anybody can go out and write a Thor story, a Thor visual. Where you what you can't do is you can't have all of those specific little details. You can't have him dressed up the way that the Marvel Thor is dressed up. You can't have them using certain and again, this is probably a shitty example because I can't think of any of the particular Marvel created creations, but they're there. They fucking absolutely are there. That's the stuff that you cannot do. But nobody's saying, yeah, we need to figure out what this character is worth, what that character is worth. Just say, okay, here's your percentage of fucking profit. You're not even going to get yourself into one of those Scarlett Johansson situations where you're promised a flat amount back up the
Yeah.
fucking Brinks truck. You say, all right, you're gonna get 0.05%, whatever the fucking numbers are. But to say, you know what, contrary to that ask, we are going to countersue you and say that you ain't shit without us. Come on, like what are you
And
doing?
and
It
and
looks so bad.
and not to be a total asshole, with
Knock
Hollywood
yourself out,
accounting,
man.
the Vision estate, they're not going to get tens of millions of dollars. They're just not.
I mean,
So
it's
so give them what you should. And here's the most fucked up thing. Just and
terrible.
then I'll wrap it up. But
Did you
what
run down
you
the list? I just pulled up the
Yeah,
list.
no, please hit us.
So the full list that these motherfuckers are going to Judge Judy and
Bum
gonna
bum bum.
straight faced make a case. They are suing to hold on to full control. I didn't throw up because my stomach was bad. I threw up because of this fucking story. They're holding to full control of Iron Man, Spider Man, Doctor Strange, Ant Man, Hawkeye, Black Widow, Falcon, Thor, and others. Are you kidding me, dude?
And listen, here's the thing.
Come
Marvel.
on.
Marvel. If you somehow see this, if you can do it without those creators, if you can do it without those stories, go the fuck ahead.
Do it. Show me. Show me.
And also, I'll only name drop this. You're telling me the guys who wrote Age of Ultron didn't get a taste? You're telling me the movie Age of Ultron didn't borrow any fucking ideas? And I understand people are paid by page. No shit. But when something becomes iconic, assholes, take care of the people around you. Because the day that Marvel goes bankrupt or Disney goes bankrupt, not that I think it'll ever happen, I want to fucking feel bad about it. I want to kill myself to support them the way I had to support Stan Lee. You're telling me Stan Lee had to have uncomfortable financial years? Fuck you. Pay his family what they're entitled to. Pay Steve
Come on,
Ditko's
man.
family what they're entitled to. Give them the fucking taste. And anyone,
Gene
sincerely,
Colan was the other creator that whose name was escaping us.
sincerely, it's like if you, anyone who would be like, nah, fuck them, you're an asshole. And you've probably never tried to even create anything. And I know
mean,
that's
look,
like a cop out.
there-
Go fuck yourself. I meant what I said.
There's something to be said about like you're hired to do a particular job. But the thing about it is, and yeah, I'm not a lawyer. I played one a couple of times on stage, but I would say very plainly, you hired these artists. I don't care what your format is, the pen, the pencil, whatever, to create something. You asked them to create characters for a comic book. I would argue the second that character leapt off of the comic book pages and started a new life elsewhere on the small screen, on the big screen, in advertisements and marketing and merchandising, well, now we need to sit down and need to have a different conversation, right? It's Charlie, you're muted again.
The
It's
law
not.
protects that.
It's not as if they are suing only because they want to go out and start their own fucking comic book company. They're not going to go out and make their own Spider-Man movie. We just had the dust settle regarding the fucking them having to get their own rights back from Sony because Marvel was such a disaster in the early 2000s that they had no choice but to sell off fucking characters. But the truth of the matter is that their ownership of those characters had an expiration date. You've been running fucking Spider-Man since 1962. Look, at some point, man, the shackles got to come off. You got to do the right thing.
do the right fucking thing. And I like to think that each and every single week we do the right thing as well. And I don't even have to destroy a pizza parlor to make my point. My dear brother, there is only one way that we end this and every episode of US Comics Cast. I want you to tell the lovely people how it is we do what we do.
It is so simple. Power to the people. You got to turn the power on. You got to run into the bathroom and throw up a little. Turn the volume up. And you got to tune Bad Mary and open up the window wide and scream out into the night sky. Save me, Space Girl. We out.